Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the world you are. I hope you are doing great. Welcome to another session from Microsoft Zero to Hero community. So happy and that we are here again, and thank you for joining again to the session. I am gonna add my slides quickly. Yes, today we have Daniel, Paulus, and with the topic, this presentation topic is Whisper into OpenAI. I'm so excited to learn more because the subject itself is so exciting actually. I met with Daniel previously at Microsoft Build. He delivered an amazing session in Microsoft Build Netherlands, and I'm again so excited to learn more about his experience. You can scan the QR code for community links to join to the learning rooms at Microsoft Learn Tech community, and also the other links at Microsoft Zero to Hero community socials like LinkedIn and YouTube channels. So yes, welcome again to the session. I'm gonna talk a little bit about Microsoft Learn, as you're familiar, I'm sure, about Microsoft Learn community. However, again, as I always mention, again in this session, I'm gonna also highlight it, make Microsoft Learn your homepage, because we're all together in this path learning about exciting and amazing technologies and services from Microsoft, especially Microsoft AI, Azure, and all other cloud services from IaaS, PaaS to SaaS services, and so on. And actually, this community as learning rooms is part of Microsoft Learn Tech community. So learning rooms purposes is to bring everyone from professionals to fresh graduates, students, people from different backgrounds to let's get together and share our experiences. Let's ask questions. So you can just join from aka.ms/learning rooms together with me and our fellow Learn experts from Microsoft Learn community. Just ask your questions. We are always online in there to help you in your journey. And I hope you already registered and you finished your modules together with AI Skills Challenge. And because at the end of the challenge, there was an exam certificate. Once you get it, you'll be able to take your exam and get certified and showcase your achievement. And it will be officially in your Microsoft Learn profile transcript. You can again go to aka.ms/AI Skills Challenge and continue with the modules in there. So this is really great opportunity from Microsoft Learn and a great initiative to get to know AI services. And as the last slide, we have a code of conduct. So being aware of each other and friendly and patient during the session, and welcoming and respectful, opening to all questions and viewpoint, and understanding each other's differences. So thank you for session. Thank you for joining, and thank you for the session. I'm gonna add Daniel here. Hi, Daniel. And handing over the stage to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Ahmed.
Of course.
Ready when you are.
Yes, I'm gonna remove my slides, and here's your screen.
All right. Let me share this again. Can you see my slides now?
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
I don't see you anymore, so let me start out by saying good evening, good day, whatever it is for you. I'm really happy to talk with you about OpenAI and about Whisper. This tool, I think it's really awesome. I built some fun things with it, and today I hopefully can show some of that to you. This is what we're going to talk about today. So this all started out as a personal quest for me. There was a challenge. I will zoom into that later on. And then I discovered Whisper. I started to play around with it. I did some transcriptions. And in the end, it got me nice notes in my note-taking tool, all done by voice, which I think is really handy. But it started out as a personal quest. So what happened? A few years ago, we all faced a lockdown. We were locked down because of COVID. Same thing happened here in the Netherlands. I was working in a regional room, and at some point the walls came down to me. Like it was really hard for me to stay active, keep doing things, and keep doing the work that I did. And then I got a tip from some friends, like, "Hey, you can go outside, you can take walks. It's really good um, for the cognitive activity in your brain to go to the woods, to the forest, or just a small park." As I live in a really big town in the Netherlands, I started to do this at first with podcasts, with some music, and then I read some articles that stated if you take these walks outside, make sure to not use any music. Don't wear any earplugs or whatever. Just go outside and hear the noise of the street, hear the noise of the city. This will help you unwind the cognitive blocks that you have at that moment. So I started to do that, and all of a sudden, I got all these ideas, all this new inspiration and things that I could use to give talks or write blog posts or how to fix a problem. However, in my walk, I didn't take any notebooks. I didn't do any note taking on the fly. Well, I could do this on my phone in my note app, but as I said, I live in a city. So as I was walking with my note app and typing on my phone, I would also have to cross the street and stuff like that. So it wouldn't be ideal to do that. And if it's a larger ID, how would I then write that down? Do I need to write a book instead of, well, so this was the challenge. But there was another one, because at the time I got a lot of voice memos. And those voice memos are awesome in the moment or just after, but soon you have a lot of them. And if you have a lot of them, you need to keep track of them. You need to add metadata or stuff like that. And the standard note taking or the standard voice memo app on an iPhone only puts down a date and timestamp, which isn't that great as metadata. So how would we deal with this? Right. So let's go back to the challenge that I faced. I wanted to use voice because voice gives me a lot of opportunities that text doesn't give to me, right? I can press the record button of the voice memo app everywhere that I am. If that's in a meeting room, as I'm brainstorming with someone, if I walking down the street, if I driving home, my car back from work, I could even do this in the train or every place that you have your phone with you, you can record a voice memo. It's really fast, it's really easy, but that also means that you get a lot of them. The way that someone talks about this or talks in their voice memo, so the speed of pace and the pauses help you to identify if there's something that you have already thought out, that's ready to go, or if there's something that you might need to think about, or how was your emotional state, or the mindset. As I said, it's easy to use, it's convenient, it's hands-free if you use earplugs or whatever. And you don't have the restrictions of your laptop when you're writing. You don't have pop-up messages, you don't have Teams bleeping up or whatever. But for me, it's also really inclusive, as I have dyslexia. Writing is difficult for me. So speaking and using my voice makes things easier, faster, and is less intrusive. And it's also really handy if you're with a few people, brainstorming about this new idea or about how you would attack a certain issue, just put your phone in the middle, press record, and you also have something to go back to identify the ideas that you had. However, there's also a barrier. The quick way that I see as a win can also build up to an archive over time that's really big. So now I now have a lot of voice memos in several types of time. So one of them can be 5 minutes, another one can be half an hour, and I have to play them back to get all the information out. So it's underutilizing information because I have to go back, search, find the right one. So the lack of metadata is a really big thing. Standard, it's just time. So I have to find a way to organize the audio files in a folder structure or in some other way that I can do this. It's like finding a book, but you don't know the label of the book. And it's a really big library, so you have no idea where to search. But you know it's there. That can be really, really irritating. And then I discovered something called Whisper. And Whisper is a open source model from OpenAI. It's an ASR, which stands for Automatic Speech Recognition System. It's designed specifically to get spoken language into written text. It's been trained on 680,000 hours of audio, and it can also do translation for you. So if you speak a different language than I do, you speak in your own language, we translate it to English, and I can understand what you say. It's great for use cases in the city because it understands that it has to translate my voice and not the noise that is around me. And this makes it really good and cost effective to get spoken language interpreted for your video or at your event. I'm not sure if you ever have seen the transcriptions that teams make. They are horrible, especially when, like me, you're not a native English speaker. It makes really weird words from the things that you say. With Whisper, I haven't encountered issues like this. It's way more clean. It understands the subtle things that you might have when you are not a native speaker. But it also has support for complex tasks. It understands that if you have a session with multiple people, it understands that I tell what I tell you right now, but someone else might be telling something different, and it can understand the difference between those two. So I wanted to play around with Whisper. I wanted to do this by the usage of Azure OpenAI, in which you can deploy the model of Whisper. And this gives you an endpoint. This endpoint, the API key doesn't work, the endpoint doesn't exist. So please don't break it. The endpoint exists and gives you an API over time. So I needed to find out how can I get my voice memo from my iPhone to OpenAI and translate it and get the text back. I'm doing this with curl because that's what I know, but I had to find out how can I send the file. Well, this was basically in -F, and the file is test M4A. M4A is the file extension from Apple, but you can use MP3, WAV, and some other file extensions that all will work. It will take a moment, depending on the file size that you have, and then it will return you the text as JSON object. Also, a thing to understand is it can only work in blocks of 10 minutes. So if you have an audio file that it's longer, you have to cut it up in chunks of 10 minutes. And this is something that I learned when I started to send larger audio files. So now I have a flow in which I record the audio file. I then save it into a folder, take that file, send it to an API, get the transcription text back, and put that in my notebook. This is already better than scrubbing through an audio file and finding the right moment in time where I said a certain thing, but it's still not great yet because I can get a huge blob of text without too much context. I can give it a title where what I think is descriptive. I can give time date stamps, and I might be able to get some of the words in that I speak about, but that's still a lot of manual work, and it's not great yet for finding more context. So let's now go from transcription to actions. Because I want to do more with my voice memos, right? I want to make sure that if I talk about my day when I drive back home in the car, that I get a list of things that I need to follow up, or things that I need to think about, or maybe even action items for the next day, right? So I want to ask it more questions. I want to ask it, what are the main points of the story? What are the potential action items? Give me the summary of what I just talked about. What are the follow-up questions that I can ask to other people? Are there stories or examples that I'm talking about? What are topics that are related to the topics that I talk about? Any reference or citations that I make in a text? And do you see arguments and areas for improvement? So who am I going to ask this to? Well, to ChatGPT. In the same instance, we can deploy a ChatGPT 3 or 4, and we can then also call an API. And as you can see in the message that I sent to ChatGPT, it has a role that's called system. And as the system, I can give it an assignment, right? In this example, you see you are a helpful assistant, but we can do more with this, right? We can set a large system message. We can tell the system that you are an assistant that summarizes voice notes, primarily involving human speech. And if the speaker identifies itself, use their name. So what I do when I'm in the car, my car is called Wally, as it's an electric car. And then when I start a voice memo, I always say, "Hi, Wally, it's Daniel again." It's just a weird thing that I do in the car. But that helps the system to identify that it's me, and it will reference me by name in the thing that it's doing. I then ask it to add the main points, or first I tell it to make a summary of the transcript. And then I also make a limit of 15% of the transcript. Why did I do this? Because in the first iterations, it came back to me with a really large summary, sometimes even just as long as the voice recording itself, which isn't the point. The point is that I have a really clear summary of the thing that I talked about to see if I have to listen it back or if it's interesting when I'm searching for information. Then add the main points and make sure that it's roughly 5 items or less if it can find less. And action item, same thing. If I talk about something that is a date, then make sure to add that date to the action item. So if I say tomorrow, it understands that I mean the date after today. And the follow-up questions, the examples and or stories that I talk about, which will be bigger. So make a limit of 200 words, 3 items, and same for the references. If we do this, we come up with a enrichment flow, right? We still start out with the audio file. We put the audio file in a folder. We take that audio file, let it transcribe through Whisper. With the transcription text, we call ChatGPT and we ask it the questions that you've just seen in the enrichment, and then we get JSON back and we put that in the notebook. Now I have way more information to go about, and we can continue from there. So let's show you how this works. What I have done is I have made a logic app because we have a flow, and this flow we can easily put it in a logic app. So when a file is created in a specific folder, get the Whisper key and the Whisper endpoint out of Key Vault, and then call Whisper. We parse JSON. We do the same thing for GPT. We call GPT, we get it back, we analyze some parse, so we can parse everything and put everything in the right order. And then we create a page in Notion. That's my note-taking tool. You can use whatever tool you use that has an API. I've seen that a lot of tools within the Microsoft stack don't have an API that is public or that you can use. But I'm really happy to hear whatever you've used or whatever you are looking into using to store your notes. So we add a table of content because I can quickly click through everything and find the right type of content. We add the summary, then we add the main points. We loop through all the main points and add them to the page. We do that for the action items, to the follow-up. And we do that for every point that we want to make. Unfortunately, I can't let you hear this audio. I've tried, but it don't work with the tool that we are using. But to give a summary, I made a. Oh, I might have the text. Let me see if because I did a run already. So this is basically what I've said in that voice memo. So this is a voice test memo to demo the new system with Whisper translation. And if it has done the translation, it's been put in my Notion system. You see that it adds the index. It makes a summary. So the transcript is empty for now. I have to fix that because that's not going as I intended it. But it makes a summary from the transcript. Then it gets the main points out of the text. So the main points are: we are doing an introduction to a voice memo. It's a demonstration of the system, and it's a discussion. Unfortunately, it didn't find any action items, as there were none in the voice memo. Same for the follow-up questions, the stories and examples. But it did find related topics like system testing, voice recognition technology, and whisper translation. So if I in the future have another note that has a reference to the same topics, I can start to search on whisper translation, and I get all the notes back which have this as a related topic. Let's go back to the. So what are the broader implications of this, right? I think that with the Whisper model, it brings a lot of possibilities. I now use it for voice memos, but how fantastic would it be if I can create a system where if I have a online meetup like this one, if I can feed this live into Whisper and get my text in the video while I'm talking in such a way that is actually good text, so that if you are hearing impaired, you can still follow along without the captions from YouTube, but actual good captions. I just heard the other day that there now in Teams is a system you can enable. You have to do this on the tenant, and then you get a new translation option or a new transcribe option within Teams. It looks like, I'm not sure, but it looks like this might be powered by Whisper, because I've seen huge improvement in the transcription of Teams voice when you enable this. But also, I've heard about a game studio that is building a VR game where you can have interactions with the people in the game by speaking. So you just tell them a story and they will react back to your story. This is done by Whisper as well, because they have to get your voice into text, of course, for the system to work with. But how cool would it be if, like in Star Trek, we can say, computer, do something, and the computer understands what it needs to do without us having to predefine actions based on text, right? Because we use Whisper, it can work up to understanding what we mean by speech. You also see this happening in GitHub Copilot, where you now have Copilot voice, where you can have interactions with Copilot for when you are impaired in some way and can't type or whatever issue that there is. You now can speak to Teams or speak to Copilot and let it create code for you, which I think is incredible. But this is also a call to innovation. I would really love to see what we can make with tools like this and what you can make with this, right? I now used it to optimize a workflow that I already started to use that for me works, as I am less efficient with typing. I now can talk to a system, talk to myself when walking outdoors, or get transcriptions back from whatever audio there is and get it in text. A system that I am looking into right now is how I can. So I love to go to conferences, but I can't go to all of them. And a lot of conferences record their audio or record their videos, and I can watch them back on YouTube. But it's a lot of videos if you do an entire day of conference with multi-track. So what if I have a system that can download all the audio tracks of those videos, transcribe them for me, pull them through ChatGPT, and get a list of the videos that, based on how I tweaked the question to ChatGPT, can give me a list of the videos that I should check because they contain things that are interesting for me, or just the fragments of the videos that I need to see because there they talk about a thing I want to know. So I can now make a really extensive database or a search index based on all the audio from the event, and search for things that happened, ask it questions about topics. What was the thing that was spoke about the most? On which part were the most questions? Things like this. I am amazed by things we can create with this technology, and I would really love to hear from all of you what you think about. What can we create? What are the things you like to create, and how can we make this bigger or better? For this evening, this was my story. I hope you found it interesting. And if you have any questions, I'd love to hear them.
That was amazing, Daniel. Thanks for the great session. I was just focused on what you delivered. Amazing. Anyone, if any questions? I see a question from Marvin. It says ISO 601, or is it ISO 8601?
It might be a typo. I have to look this up. Let's see. ISO 86. I think it's 8601. You're right. But yeah. But as you all can also see, if you send it wrongly to ChatGPT, it interprets and it still understands what you want, right? So you can make it work.
Amazing. Any questions from anyone? With questions you ask, Daniel can choose a question which he thinks that it's a good question, and we will give a 50% of exam vouchers. So I'm not seeing any questions.
Nice.
that might trigger some questions. If there's no questions, I guess maybe the voucher goes to Marvin in this case. What do you think, Daniel?
Yes, he's the only one that asks the question. Or it might be such a clear story that there are none. That's also good. Yeah. You can also, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me at Paulus TM at X, I have to say right now. I'm still with Twitter, sorry. But just send me a ping there if you do have another question. I'm always happy to talk about this.
Wonderful. In this case, if you don't have any questions, I would like to thank you for your time, Daniel, in the weekend delivering this amazing session, and thanks everyone joining the session. Marvin Ziegenhorn, I hope I'm spelling your name correctly. I will reach out to you to share an exam voucher, and congratulations in advance. So thanks much, everyone. Have a great weekend. Cheers.
Cheers.